Ladies and gentlemen, there is a pernicious myth that kindness and compassion can mend the soul of someone who thrives on manipulation and self-absorption. We're often told that being nice is the path to resolution, the key to healing a damaged relationship with someone who exhibits narcissistic tendencies. But what if that approach is not only ineffective but harmful? What if being nice isn't the balm you think it is, but rather the very fuel that sustains their dominance over you? You see, dealing with a narcissist is not a matter of kindness. It is a matter of strength. It is a matter of clarity. It's about stepping out of the fog of manipulation and reclaiming your dignity. The truth is, no amount of niceness will ever penetrate the hardened shell of someone whose world revolves entirely around themselves. But there is a way to shift the balance of power, to dismantle their influence over you, and to stand in a place of unwavering self-respect. Kindness is a noble virtue, a foundation upon which we build meaningful relationships and trust with others. It's the fabric of human connection, the way we navigate the world with empathy and understanding. But kindness, when wielded in the wrong context, can become a weapon against ourselves. When faced with a narcissist, someone who manipulates and distorts reality to serve their own ego, kindness doesn't disarm them. It enables them. It becomes a tool they twist and use to tighten their grip on you. And here lies the dangerous paradox. The very thing that makes us human, our capacity for compassion and understanding, is the very thing a narcissist exploits to maintain their dominance. A narcissist thrives on control. They seek to bend the world and the people in it to their will. Their self-worth is often an unstable structure, propped up by the validation and energy they extract from others. When you're kind, when you give them the benefit of the doubt, when you excuse their behavior with the hope that your compassion will inspire change, you're playing into their hands. They don't see your kindness as a sign of strength or as an invitation to mutual respect. They see it as a weakness, a crack in the armor, an opportunity to reinforce their control over you. This is not to say that kindness is inherently flawed, far from it, but it must be paired with discernment, with boundaries, and with an understanding of the dynamics at play. When you pour kindness into a relationship with a narcissist, hoping it will transform them, you are misunderstanding the fundamental nature of their character. Narcissists don't operate on the same emotional wavelength as those who value empathy and reciprocity. They interpret your kindness not as a gift, but as leverage. It becomes another tool in their arsenal to manipulate and diminish you. Consider this: when you forgive a narcissist for their transgressions, when you overlook their selfishness or justify their lack of accountability, what you are really doing is signaling that their behavior is acceptable. You are teaching them that there are no consequences for their actions, that they can continue to take without giving, to demand without reciprocating, to wound without facing the fallout. Kindness, in this context, doesn't change the narcissist, it changes you. It makes you more pliable, more susceptible to their manipulation. And the more they take, the less of yourself you have to give. The cycle is insidious. At first, you may feel empowered by your kindness, convinced that it can soften their edges, that it can penetrate their defenses and reach the vulnerable core hidden beneath their bravado. But as time goes on, you begin to notice the pattern. The more you give, the more they take. The more you forgive, the more they transgress. And the more you try to fix them, the more broken you feel. It's a slow erosion of your sense of self, a gradual descent into a state of emotional exhaustion. Breaking free from this cycle requires a fundamental shift in perspective. It requires you to recognize that kindness alone is not enough. That while it is a virtue, it is not a solution to every problem, especially when dealing with someone who weaponizes it against you. This realization can be painful, even heartbreaking. It may feel like a betrayal of your values, like you're abandoning the very principles that define you. But it is not a betrayal, it is an act of self-preservation. It is an acknowledgement that your kindness must have limits, that it cannot be given unconditionally to those who would use it to harm you. When faced with a narcissist, the most powerful response is not kindness but clarity. Clarity about who they are, about what motivates them, and about the dynamics of your relationship. It is the courage to see them as they truly are, without the rose-colored lenses of hope and optimism. And it is the strength to set boundaries that protect your emotional well-being, even if it means walking away. This is not an easy path to take. It requires resilience, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. But it is the only path that leads to freedom. Kindness has its place. It can heal wounds, mend relationships, and bridge divides. But in the context of a relationship with a narcissist, it is not the antidote. It is the fuel. To change the dynamic, you must step out of the role of the fixer, the forgiver, the one who always bends to accommodate the other. You must reclaim your power, not by being cruel or unkind, but by being firm and unwavering in your boundaries. By recognizing that your worth is not tied to your ability to change them, but to your ability to protect and honor yourself. This shift is not about abandoning kindness altogether, it's about redirecting it. Instead of pouring your kindness into someone who drains you, direct it inward. Be kind to yourself. Show yourself the compassion and understanding you've been extending to someone who doesn't appreciate it. Allow yourself the space to heal, to rebuild, and to rediscover your sense of self. This is where true transformation begins, not in changing the narcissist, but in changing how you relate to them. In recognizing that your kindness is a gift, one that should be given freely but not taken for granted. And so, the question is not whether kindness can change a narcissist. The question is whether you are willing to change the way you approach the relationship. Whether you are ready to step out of the cycle of giving and giving without receiving. Whether you are ready to reclaim your power and protect your heart. Because the truth is, kindness alone won't change a narcissist, but clarity, boundaries, and self-respect will change you. And in the end, that's where your freedom lies. The idea of challenging a narcissist may seem daunting at first. After all, their confidence, their self-assuredness, and their apparent mastery of social dynamics can be intimidating. But beneath that facade lies something far more fragile, a deep insecurity, an unquenchable need for validation, and an inability to confront their own vulnerabilities. It is this fragility that drives their behavior, their manipulations, and their inability to truly connect with others. And so, the question becomes, how do you confront someone who thrives on control without losing yourself in the process? To challenge a narcissist is not to engage in open conflict. It is not about shouting louder, fighting harder, or sinking to their level of manipulation. Those tactics will only feed their need for drama and dominance. Instead, it is about quietly but firmly standing your ground, refusing to be drawn into their games, and holding on to your sense of self no matter how much they try to distort it. It is about seeing through the illusions they create and refusing to participate in the dynamics that keep them in control. One of the most important steps in this process is recognizing that a narcissist's power over you is rooted in your reaction to them. They thrive on eliciting emotions, whether it's admiration, fear, guilt, or anger. These emotions give them leverage. They give them the ability to manipulate your perceptions, your decisions, and your sense of worth. When you respond to their provocations with calmness and clarity, you strip them of that power. You become an immovable object in the face of their relentless attempts to provoke a reaction. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or denying your feelings. It means acknowledging them, understanding them, and choosing not to let them dictate your actions. It means responding with intention rather than reacting out of habit. This level of emotional discipline is not easy to achieve, especially when dealing with someone who knows exactly how to push your buttons. But it is essential if you want to maintain your autonomy and protect your well-being. Another crucial aspect of challenging a narcissist is refusing to accept their version of reality. Narcissists are masterful at twisting the truth to suit their narrative. They will rewrite history, distort facts, and shift blame to avoid accountability. They will gaslight you, making you question your perceptions and your sanity. But their reality is not the truth. It is a construct, a carefully curated version of events designed to maintain their control and protect their fragile ego. To resist this manipulation, you must hold on to your own reality. You must trust your instincts, your memories, and your sense of what is right and wrong. This requires a strong sense of self and a deep understanding of your own values and boundaries. It also requires a willingness to walk away when the relationship becomes too toxic, when their attempts to distort your reality become too overwhelming. Walking away is not a sign of weakness. It is a statement of your worth, a declaration that you will not allow anyone to undermine your sense of self. Setting boundaries is another powerful way to challenge a narcissist. Boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out. They are guidelines that protect your emotional and physical well-being. They are a way of saying, this is what I will accept, and this is what I will not tolerate. Narcissists do not respect boundaries. They will push against them, test them, and try to break them down. But when you enforce your boundaries consistently and without apology, you send a clear message that their behavior is unacceptable. This process is not about changing the narcissist. It's about changing how you relate to them. It's about taking back the power they have taken from you and reclaiming your sense of agency. It's about refusing to play the role they have assigned to you and redefining the terms of your relationship. This shift in dynamics can be unsettling for a narcissist. It disrupts their sense of control and forces them to confront the limitations of their influence. However, it's important to understand that challenging a narcissist is not a guarantee of change. Narcissists are deeply resistant to introspection and accountability. They are unlikely to acknowledge their behavior or make meaningful changes unless they are willing to confront their own vulnerabilities, a journey that many are unwilling to take. But their inability to change does not diminish the importance of standing your ground. It is not about them. It is about you. It is about reclaiming your voice, your power, and your sense of self-worth. There is a profound strength in refusing to be defined by someone else's narrative. There is courage in standing firm in the face of manipulation and control. And there is freedom in letting go of the need to fix or change someone who is unwilling to change themselves. This is not an easy path. It requires resilience, self-awareness, and a deep commitment to your own well-being. But it is the only path that leads to true liberation. When you challenge a narcissist in this way, you are not just protecting yourself. You are setting an example for others who may be caught in similar dynamics. You are showing them that it is possible to stand up to manipulation and control, that it is possible to maintain your sense of self even in the face of adversity. This is a powerful act of courage, one that can inspire and empower others to do the same. Challenging a narcissist is not about winning or losing. It is about breaking free from the dynamics that keep you trapped and reclaiming your life on your own terms. It is about recognizing your worth, asserting your boundaries, and refusing to let anyone diminish your sense of self. This is the ultimate act of self-respect, and it is a gift you give to yourself and to those around you. When you confront a narcissist, you are not just engaging with a person, you are stepping into a psychological battlefield shaped by deeply ingrained patterns of behavior and defense mechanisms. The narcissist has spent a lifetime perfecting the art of control and self-preservation, often at the expense of others. They create a web of manipulation, a facade of superiority, and a relentless pursuit of validation that keeps them insulated from vulnerability. But beneath that polished exterior lies a truth they cannot face: a profound fear of inadequacy and rejection. Understanding this dynamic is essential if you are to navigate the complexities of such interactions without losing yourself in the process. One of the greatest weapons a narcissist wields is their ability to play on the emotions of those around them. They know how to provoke guilt, elicit admiration, and instill self-doubt, often simultaneously. They are acutely aware of your weaknesses, your insecurities, and your need for connection, and they will use these to their advantage. This is not accidental, it is intentional. It is their means of maintaining dominance in the relationship, of ensuring that you remain dependent on their approval. But it is also their greatest weakness, for it reveals their inability to form genuine connections based on mutual respect and authenticity. To confront a narcissist effectively, you must begin by understanding the rules of their game and then refuse to play it. This is not about direct confrontation, which often leads to escalation and further entanglement. It is about quiet resistance, about removing yourself from their emotional influence and refusing to be drawn into their cycle of control. This requires a level of self-awareness and emotional discipline that can be difficult to achieve, especially when you care about the person and want to believe in their potential for change. But the harsh reality is that change is unlikely to come unless they are willing to face their own vulnerabilities, a step few narcissists are prepared to take. The first step in this process is recognizing the tactics they use to keep you off balance. They may alternate between charm and cruelty, offering moments of affection and validation only to withdraw them just as quickly. They may gaslight you, making you question your perceptions and memories, creating a sense of confusion and dependence. They may shift blame for their actions onto you, framing themselves as the victim and you as the aggressor. These tactics are designed to keep you second-guessing yourself, to erode your confidence, and make you more susceptible to their influence. Once you recognize these patterns, you can begin to dismantle their power over you. This starts with establishing clear boundaries, both emotional and physical. Boundaries are not about punishing the narcissist or seeking revenge. They are about protecting yourself and reclaiming your autonomy. They are a way of saying I value myself enough to demand respect, and I will not tolerate behavior that diminishes my worth. Setting boundaries with a narcissist can be challenging as they will likely test and push against them. They may react with anger, manipulation, or attempts to guilt you into compliance. But the strength of your boundaries lies in your consistency. When you enforce them calmly and firmly, you send a clear message that their tactics will no longer work. Another critical element of challenging a narcissist is developing a strong sense of self. Narcissists thrive on exploiting vulnerabilities, so the more secure you are in your identity and values, the less susceptible you will be to their influence. This requires introspection, self-reflection, and a commitment to personal growth. It means identifying your own needs, desires, and priorities, and refusing to compromise them for the sake of someone else's approval. It means surrounding yourself with supportive relationships that affirm your worth and remind you of your strengths. And it means learning to trust your instincts and stand by your convictions, even when the narcissist tries to undermine them. When you refuse to play the narcissist's game, you disrupt the dynamics that have allowed them to maintain control. This can be deeply unsettling for them, as it forces them to confront the limitations of their influence. They may respond with heightened manipulation, attempting to reassert their dominance through guilt, fear, or charm. They may try to draw you back into their web with promises of change or gestures of affection. But these are not genuine attempts at reconciliation, they are strategies to regain control. Recognizing this for what it is allows you to maintain your resolve and stay true to your boundaries. Ultimately, confronting a narcissist is not about changing them. It is about changing how you relate to them and reclaiming your sense of agency. It is about refusing to be defined by their narrative and asserting your own truth. This is a deeply empowering process, one that allows you to break free from the cycle of manipulation and rediscover your own strength and resilience. It is not an easy journey, and it may come with moments of doubt, pain, and uncertainty. But it is a journey worth taking, for it leads to a life of greater authenticity, freedom, and self-respect. There is a profound power in refusing to be controlled by someone else's insecurities. There is courage in standing up to manipulation and asserting your own worth. And there is liberation in letting go of the need to fix or save someone who is unwilling to confront their own shortcomings. This is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that you deserve to be treated with dignity and that you will not settle for anything less. When you confront a narcissist in this way, you are not just protecting yourself, you are setting an example for others who may be caught in similar dynamics. You are showing them that it is possible to stand up to manipulation and maintain your sense of self. This is a powerful act of defiance, one that can inspire and empower others to reclaim their own lives. And in doing so, you create a ripple effect of strength and resilience that extends far beyond your own experience. This is the ultimate victory, not in defeating the narcissist, but in rising above their influence and reclaiming your own power. It is a journey of self-discovery, growth, and transformation, one that leads to a life of greater authenticity and fulfillment. And it is a reminder that no matter how strong someone else's hold on you may seem, you always have the power to break free and create a life that reflects your true worth. When we talk about the nature of manipulation, particularly within the context of a narcissist, it is crucial to recognize that their tactics are not merely designed to control. They are deeply rooted in their own insecurities and unacknowledged pain. A narcissist's manipulative behavior is often a reflection of their desperate need to maintain a sense of superiority to avoid the vulnerability that comes with true intimacy. But for those caught in their orbit, this manipulation can feel like a constant state of unease, where one is perpetually questioning their own judgment, doubting their worth, and compromising their values to keep the peace. This emotional erosion doesn't happen all at once, it's insidious. A narcissist doesn't announce their intentions. Instead, they weave a complex web of behaviors that leave you feeling trapped. At first, they might shower you with affection, building a narrative where you feel valued and indispensable. This is the hook, the bait that keeps you tethered to them. But as time goes on, the dynamic shifts. They start to chip away at your confidence, pointing out your flaws, however slight, and framing their criticisms as concerns or advice. It is subtle but deliberate, designed to make you question your own perceptions and rely more heavily on their approval for your sense of self-worth. What makes this manipulation so powerful is its unpredictability. Narcissists thrive on creating an atmosphere where their approval is conditional. their affection fleeting. One moment you are the center of their universe, the next you are met with indifference or disdain. This roller coaster of emotions is not accidental, it's intentional. It keeps you invested, constantly striving to regain their favor, to understand what you did wrong, to prove your worth. This dynamic is not about mutual respect or love, it is about control. And the longer you remain in it, the more you lose sight of who you are. The critical mistake many make is believing that they can reason with a narcissist, that if they just explain their feelings or prove their loyalty, the narcissist will change. But this is a misunderstanding of the narcissist's mindset. They are not interested in understanding you, they are interested in maintaining their own narrative, where they are always the victim, the hero, or the misunderstood genius. Your attempts to appeal to their empathy or sense of fairness are seen not as acts of connection, but as weaknesses to be exploited. They interpret your vulnerability as permission to tighten their grip, to push boundaries further, to see just how far they can go. To break free from this cycle, you must first understand that a narcissist's manipulation is not about you. It is not a reflection of your worth or your failings. It is a manifestation of their own unresolved issues, their inability to confront their inner turmoil. This realization is liberating because it shifts the focus from trying to change them to reclaiming your own power. It allows you to see their behavior for what it is, a desperate attempt to fill a void within themselves, one that you cannot and should not try to fill. The next step is learning to trust yourself again. Narcissists are masters of gaslighting, of making you doubt your reality. They will deny things they've said or done, twist your words to suit their narrative, and make you feel as though you are overreacting or imagining things. Over time, this can leave you feeling disoriented and unsure of your own perceptions. Rebuilding this trust in yourself requires deliberate effort. It means paying attention to your instincts, honoring your feelings, and recognizing that your experiences are valid even if the narcissist tries to convince you otherwise. Equally important is setting boundaries, clear, firm, and non-negotiable boundaries. This is not about punishing the narcissist or trying to teach them a lesson. It is about protecting yourself and asserting your right to be treated with respect. Boundaries are not about changing the other person. They are about changing how you respond to their behavior. They are a declaration of your self-worth, a refusal to tolerate manipulation, disrespect, or abuse. Enforcing these boundaries can be challenging, especially when the narcissist tests them, as they inevitably will. But it is a necessary step in breaking free from their influence and reclaiming your autonomy. This process is not without its difficulties. Walking away from a narcissist, whether physically or emotionally, often comes with guilt, doubt, and fear. You may question whether you're being too harsh, whether you should have tried harder, whether they are capable of change. These doubts are normal, but they are also a reflection of the very manipulation you are trying to escape. It is important to remind yourself that you cannot save someone who refuses to acknowledge their need for help, nor should you sacrifice your own well-being in the attempt. There is strength in choosing yourself, in prioritizing your mental and emotional health over the illusion of a relationship built on control. This strength is not about being unkind or uncaring. It is about recognizing that love, real love, cannot exist in a space where one person seeks to dominate the other. It is about understanding that you deserve better than a connection that leaves you feeling diminished, confused, and alone. As you move forward, you may find that the narcissist attempts to re-enter your life, to pull you back into their sphere of influence. They may use charm, promises of change, or appeals to your empathy to regain control. It is crucial to stay grounded in your resolve, to remember why you chose to break free in the first place. Surround yourself with people who affirm your worth, who remind you of your strengths, who support your journey toward healing and self-discovery. Breaking free from a narcissist manipulation is not just an act of survival, it is an act of reclamation. It is a declaration that you will no longer be defined by someone else's insecurities, that you will no longer compromise your values or diminish your light to accommodate their shadow. It is a journey towards self-awareness, self-respect, and self-love. And it is a reminder that you have the power to create a life that reflects your true worth, one that is not contingent on someone else's approval or validation. The concept of enabling is one of the most dangerous dynamics that can arise in any relationship, particularly when dealing with a narcissist. The word itself, enabling, suggests passivity, a sort of indirect complicity, yet its reality is far more complex, far more damaging. When you enable someone, especially someone who manipulates and controls, you are not merely staying silent or turning a blind eye. You are actively reinforcing their behavior, legitimizing their view of the world, and most critically, allowing them to escape the consequences of their actions. It's not always intentional. Often it stems from a desire to avoid conflict, to maintain harmony, or to protect yourself from further harm. But the outcome is the same: the perpetuation of a cycle that erodes your autonomy and strengthens their grip. Enabling starts subtly. It begins with small compromises, letting a hurtful comment slide, excusing a disrespectful action, or convincing yourself that they didn't mean it that way. These justifications may seem harmless at first. After all, who hasn't looked past a loved one's flaws or forgiven a moment of poor judgment? But with a narcissist, these moments are not isolated incidents. They are part of a broader pattern of manipulation. Each time you rationalize their behavior, you send a message not just to them but to yourself that their needs, their perspective, their version of reality is more important than your own. And over time, this imbalance grows, becoming the foundation upon which the entire relationship rests. The most insidious aspect of enabling is how it distorts your perception of responsibility. Narcissists are masters at shifting blame. They will make you feel as though their outbursts are your fault, that their lies were a reaction to your behavior, that their cruelty is somehow justified because of what you did or failed to do. And if you're not careful, you can start to internalize these narratives. You begin to question yourself: maybe I am being too sensitive. Maybe I should have tried harder. Maybe I deserve that reaction. This self-doubt is precisely what the narcissist needs to maintain control. It keeps you focused on their needs, their feelings, their justifications while neglecting your own. But enabling doesn't only affect your relationship with the narcissist. It has a profound impact on how you see yourself. Every time you compromise your boundaries, you send yourself a message about your own worth. You tell yourself that your feelings don't matter as much as their approval, that your needs are secondary to keeping the peace, that your identity is less significant than maintaining the illusion of harmony. And this message, repeated over days, months, years, can be devastating. It chips away at your confidence, your self-respect, your sense of who you are. You become so accustomed to putting their needs first that you lose sight of your own values, your own dreams, your own voice. Breaking free from this cycle requires a radical shift in perspective. It requires recognizing that enabling is not an act of kindness, it is an act of self-abandonment. It is not about maintaining peace. It is about avoiding conflict at the cost of your own integrity. And while it may feel easier in the short term to avoid confrontation, to smooth things over, to keep the status quo, the long-term cost is far greater. Every time you enable, you strengthen their position and weaken your own. You give them the power to dictate the terms of the relationship while diminishing your ability to advocate for yourself. The first step in breaking this pattern is awareness. You have to see enabling for what it is: a survival mechanism that may have protected you in the moment but is now holding you back. This awareness can be painful because it forces you to confront not just their behavior but your own. It requires acknowledging the ways in which you have compromised your values, ignored your instincts, and allowed their narrative to take precedence over your truth. But this confrontation is also liberating. It is the first step toward reclaiming your power, your voice, your sense of self. Once you are aware of the enabling dynamic, the next step is setting boundaries. Boundaries are not about controlling the other person. They are about defining what you will and will not accept. They are a declaration of your worth, a commitment to yourself that you will no longer tolerate behavior that diminishes or disrespects you. Setting boundaries with a narcissist is not easy. They will test them, push them, and try to manipulate you into compromising them. But each time you hold firm, you send a message not just to them but to yourself that you are worth protecting. It is also crucial to recognize that breaking free from enabling is not just about what you stop doing, it's about what you start doing. It's about reclaiming your agency, taking responsibility for your choices, and prioritizing your growth and well-being. This means investing in relationships that uplift and support you, pursuing activities that bring you joy and fulfillment, and surrounding yourself with people who see and respect your value. It means learning to trust yourself again, to honor your feelings, to stand by your convictions even when it's difficult. This process is not about punishment or revenge. It is about liberation. It is about freeing yourself from a dynamic that has held you back, from a narrative that has kept you small, from a relationship that has undermined your potential. It is about stepping into your power, not as a reaction to their behavior, but as a reflection of your own growth and strength. And as you do this, you will find that the grip they once had on you begins to loosen, that their approval no longer defines your worth, that their manipulations no longer control your choices. The journey away from enabling is not easy, but it is worth it. It is a journey back to yourself, back to your values, back to the person you were always meant to be. And as you take each step, you will find that the freedom, the confidence, the self-respect you have gained far outweighs the fear, the doubt, and the guilt that once held you back. You will find that you are stronger than you ever realized, that you are capable of creating a life that reflects your true worth, that you are deserving of respect, love, and happiness, not because of what you do for others, but because of who you are. Rebuilding trust after being entangled in the web of a narcissist is no small feat. It's a process that demands courage, introspection, and a willingness to face truths about yourself and the dynamics you have endured. Trust is one of the most fundamental pillars of human relationships. And when it is fractured, whether through manipulation, deceit, or outright betrayal, it leaves wounds that run deep. The scars of these experiences can make it difficult to trust not only others, but also yourself. And yet, it is within this process of reconstruction that some of the most profound growth and transformation occur. When someone you trusted deeply, a partner, a friend, a family member, has used that trust as a weapon, it changes how you view the world. It sows seeds of doubt, not only about their intentions, but about your own judgment. How could I have let this happen, you might ask yourself. Or why didn't I see the signs? These questions can spiral into a state of self-recrimination that traps you in the past. You replay moments over and over, trying to make sense of the chaos, searching for an explanation that will bring closure. But closure rarely comes from re-examining the actions of someone who thrives on chaos. It comes from something much deeper: your willingness to forgive yourself and move forward. The first step in rebuilding trust is to recognize that the betrayal was not a reflection of your worth. It's all too easy to internalize the narrative that their treatment of you somehow reflected a deficiency on your part. You might think, if only I had been stronger, smarter, or less vulnerable, this wouldn't have happened. But that line of thinking is a trap. It gives their actions power over your self-perception. The truth is, their choices were theirs alone. Their manipulations, their lies, their disregard for your boundaries, these were not about you. They were about their own inability to connect with others authentically. But rebuilding trust is not just about separating yourself from their actions. It's about reclaiming your ability to trust your instincts, your judgment, and your capacity for discernment. When someone undermines your sense of reality, as narcissists often do, it can leave you questioning your perceptions long after the relationship ends. You might second-guess your decisions, wondering whether you're being overly cautious or too naive. This erosion of self-trust is one of the most insidious effects of their behavior. To counteract it, you must begin to listen to yourself again, not the voice of doubt that they planted in your mind, but the deeper intuition that has always been there, waiting for you to trust it. This process of rebuilding self-trust requires deliberate effort. It means learning to pay attention to the signals your body and mind are giving you, those subtle cues that tell you when something feels right or wrong. It means practicing discernment not from a place of fear or paranoia, but from a place of self-respect. You start small, making decisions that honor your boundaries, and as you see the positive outcomes of these choices, your confidence begins to grow. Over time, you realize that you are capable of navigating the complexities of relationships without losing yourself in the process. Rebuilding trust with others is equally challenging, especially after a betrayal. It's natural to become guarded, to put up walls to protect yourself from future harm. But there's a difference between healthy boundaries and an impenetrable fortress. Boundaries are about defining what you will and will not accept. They are a reflection of your self-worth. Walls, on the other hand, are about keeping everyone out, even those who might have the potential to support and uplift you. The key is to strike a balance to protect yourself while remaining open to the possibility of connection. This openness requires vulnerability, which can feel terrifying after being hurt. But vulnerability is not weakness, it is strength. It is the willingness to show up as your authentic self even in the face of uncertainty. It's about saying, "This is who I am and these are my boundaries," and trusting that those who respect you will honor them. Not everyone will, of course. Some people will test your limits or try to exploit your openness. But as you become more attuned to your own needs and values, you'll find it easier to recognize those who are genuine from those who are not. One of the most powerful tools in rebuilding trust is cultivating relationships with people who demonstrate integrity. These are the individuals who do what they say they will do, who respect your boundaries without question, who show up for you consistently and authentically. They may be friends, mentors, or even new romantic partners. The key is to surround yourself with people whose actions align with their words, who value you for who you are rather than what you can provide for them. These relationships remind you that trust is not only possible but also worth striving for. It's also important to remember that rebuilding trust takes time. It's not something that can be rushed or forced. Healing is not linear. There will be moments when you feel strong and moments when doubt creeps back in. But each step you take toward rebuilding trust, whether with yourself or others, is a step toward reclaiming your power. It's a declaration that you will not let the actions of one person define your future, that you are capable of creating a life filled with meaningful connections. Finally, rebuilding trust is not just about repairing what was broken, it's about creating something stronger, more resilient, more aligned with your values. It's about recognizing that the pain of betrayal, while deeply wounding, has also given you the opportunity to grow. It has taught you the importance of boundaries, the value of discernment, and the strength that comes from standing in your truth. And as you rebuild, you do so not from a place of fear, but from a place of empowerment, knowing that you have the capacity to create relationships that reflect your worth and honor your journey.